All right, now we are coming down to what I believe is kind of the most important and critical stage of the entire customer journey process. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is when that relationship shifts. This is when you transform a lead and a prospect into a convert. So remembering where we are, we leveraged advertising or search to generate some initial awareness. We leveraged content, answered some questions to get them engaged. We leveraged high value lead magnets to get them to actually subscribe, to get them to opt in. We now have the ability to follow up. We got their number. Now it's time to go on a date, right? It is time for that relationship to change. So the question that we're going to ask at this stage is, how can we get our prospects to make a micro commitment? Remember that word, micro commitment, that gives us the opportunity to deliver the aha moment, okay? How can we get our prospects to make a micro commitment that gives us the opportunity to deliver the aha moment? What we're really thinking about here, how can we get them to meet us for coffee? All right, so to understand that, let's look at some of the methods of commitment. So as human beings, we show commitment in one of two ways: time and money, all right? Human beings, we show commitment when we get out our wallet. We show commitment when we put something into our calendar. When we invest our money and when we invest our time, that is when we show commitment. So what we're looking for at this stage is a micro commitment of time or a micro commitment of money. We're not asking them to shell out, thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars or even hundreds of dollars in most cases. We want a small little amount of money just to show they're somewhat bought in. We're not asking them to fly across the country and hang out with us for days. We're asking them to maybe give up 20, 30 minutes to watch a demo or to talk to us on the phone, a small commitment of time. That's what we're looking for at this stage. No micro commitment, no convert. Okay? If we want to be able to say, yep, we got a convert, we need that micro commitment. So I've used the example a lot, but this is what, hey, let's go get coffee is all about. When through the course of romantic relationships, you agree to meet for coffee or let's go grab lunch or a quick bite, make no mistake, even if you're meeting there separately and leaving separately, middle of the day, quick 5-minute, check-in, that's a date. The relationship has changed. You didn't happen to randomly meet up because you were at the same place. You chose to arrive at the same place at the same point of time. That is a micro commitment, is a commitment of time. Now, similarly, again, don't know how old you are, but if you're my age or older, you know this ad. You know Columbia House Records. Columbia House Records built a massive, massive company, one of the largest distributors of music in the world, on the back of send us $1 and we'll send you 13 records, tapes. Eventually it was CDs. At one point it was 8 tracks, right? But give us $1. We'll send you a bunch of stuff. Now, of course, they were putting you in a subscription on that, and some could argue, whether or not they disclosed the subscription as much as they could have, but the point still remains. When you sent them $1, the relationship changed. You are now a customer. And what a lot of people don't remember is their very first offering was tape a penny to a postcard. A penny, a single penny. What is that worth? A penny. But what they knew is it was worth so much more. If you took the time to get some change out of your pocket to tape an actual penny to their postcard and send it back to them, they knew you made a micro commitment. You are now a customer. So we're looking for that similar equivalent in our business. This is the thing I will tell you that most marketers don't get. This is the step and the stage that most marketers skip. This is where the big opportunity lies because nobody else is doing it. So your goal, your job at this stage is you need an entry point offer. You need to come up with an entry point offer. What is your just send me $1 and I'll send you 13 records and tapes? What is your hey, let's meet for coffee? Now, this idea of an entry point offer, it's been called a lot of different things. We've referred to it as a tripwire. In the past, so you may have heard that. I'll still call it a tripwire from time to time. A self-liquidating offer. You may have even heard the phrase loss leader has been around in retail. But this idea of let's have a low barrier to entry offer that is there to change that relationship, to get that micro commitment, that's what we're searching for at this stage. That's what I want you to brainstorm, what I want you to figure out right now as we go through this lesson. All right, so let's brainstorm some entry point offer ideas for your business and for your customer journey. Now, the first type of entry point offer, and kind of the first question that I'll ask you in and around this is, what's something your prospect would only buy or register for if they had a problem or challenge that you could solve? Okay? What's something that they would only register for if they had a problem or challenge that you could solve? Now, I've shown this example before, but this particular webinar, the free online training, how to structure and build a modern digital marketing team. Now, you may be looking at it and saying, wait, but I thought a webinar was a lead magnet. Isn't a webinar and somebody registering for a webinar, isn't that at the subscribe stage? It is. When somebody registers for a webinar, they are a subscriber. When they actually attend a webinar, that's when they become a convert. Why? Because they've committed some of their time. If somebody subscribes to a webinar but they never show up, no micro commitment of time, no micro commitment of money, no convert. Now you got a subscriber, you can follow up with them. Hopefully, you offer some replays and some encores and maybe they eventually do show up. But if they never do, they were a subscriber who never became a convert. But if they do, if a person registers for this particular webinar on how to structure a modern marketing team, how to build an in-house digital marketing team, if they sign up for this webinar and if they attend, we got a micro commitment of time. Demos function the same way. So if your company has a demo or anything, in and around consultative selling, again, somebody registers for it, but they don't show, not a convert. If they register and they show, you've got a micro commitment of time, you got a first date. Now, it's got to be good to go further, but these are some classic examples of this. A trial would be another example. If you offer any type of trial, or if you have a freemium offering, right? All of these, the only reason that somebody would register or sign up for this is if they ultimately wanted the thing that you had, okay? So all of those, if you're doing any of that, so if you're in software and you're doing demos or free trials, that is likely your convert stage offering. All right, that is likely your convert stage offering. But it doesn't just apply to software demos or any other type of consultative selling. Here's another example from a business that we own. So we had a company that was in the survival and preparedness space. We sold a lot of outdoor equipment, tools, things like that. And one of the products that we sold was this emergency fire starter. So as a fire starter, it had a cap on it, it could get wet, it would still light. Very, very effective for us. But we wanted something that could go even bigger. So we also offered a flashlight. Thinking that, well, if somebody buys a flashlight, then maybe they'll be a good customer for us as well. Well, what we found is, if somebody bought this emergency fire starter, they would buy tons of other products from us in the survival and preparedness space. If they just bought a flashlight, conversion rates were pretty terrible moving forward. Why? Because who wants a flashlight? Everybody. My wife doesn't care at all about survival and preparedness. She doesn't even like to go camping. But if you say, hey, want a free flashlight? She'll go, sure, I'll take a free flashlight. I don't like the dark. All you have to know about somebody, when they buy, the only thing you really know about somebody when they get a flashlight is they don't like dark. That's called everybody. No human beings like being in the dark, so everybody wants a flashlight. Therefore, remember, what's something your prospect would only buy or register for if they had a problem or challenge that you could solve. In our case, we were selling products and services to preparedness-minded individuals. Everybody wants a flashlight. Therefore, this was not a good entry point offer. The survival lighter, even though it got lower, even though it had lower conversions overall, had much higher average customer values, and we could spend way more to sell these than we could to sell flashlights. Okay? So remember the key here. What's something your prospect would only buy or register for if they had a problem or challenge that you could solve? EPO, entry point offer brainstormer number 2. What valuable part of your main offer can you splinter off and deliver on an a la carte basis to deliver that kind of value in advance to get your foot in the door? All right. So think about whatever your main core offering is. What's something that you could splinter off? What's something that you could grab just a little chunk of it and pull it over here? I'll give you an example. One of my business partners, one of his businesses was he had a candle supply company. So he sold waxes and molds and fragrance oils and anything and everything you could ever need if you wanted to make candles. Now, what's fascinating is the way he built his candle supply business is he sold wicks. And he sold wicks thousands at a time because he sold wicks cheaper than anybody else. Because his theory, and it turned out to be right, he wound up building the second largest candle supply business in North America. His theory was, if somebody's buying wicks, they want to make a candle, right? Now, so it kind of plays into the thing, like the only person who's like, I don't know about you, I've never bought a wick. I've also never wanted to make a candle. I'm certainly not going to buy a replacement wick for candles that I already have. So if somebody is buying wicks, they want to make a candle. So he basically took the thing that everybody kind of needed, but it wasn't all that sexy. He splintered it off of his core offering. So a full-blown candle supply kit, the waxes, the mold, the fragrance oil, the class, like everything that you need to make a candle, he splintered off the wick and sold the wick separately. Said, if you just want a wick, here, I'll sell you a wick at cost. Because he knew once somebody bought a wick, it was very easy to say, hey, can't help but notice that you bought a wick. I'm guessing if you bought a wick, you're making a candle. By the way, we happen to have waxes and fragrance oils and everything else that you would mold, everything else that you would need to make a candle. And since you're already a customer, we can give you a discount. Why don't you go ahead and buy it now? Work like a charm. There's a seller on eBay who for well over a decade, I've been following him, has been selling guitar picks. He's been selling guitar picks 100 at a time. Now, why? Why would you sell guitar picks, hundreds at a time for $8, $9, $10? Surely you're not getting rich selling these packs of guitar picks basically at cost. And he's not getting rich selling guitar picks at cost. What he is getting rich doing is selling very high-end antique guitars. Because guess what? If you're buying guitar picks 100 at a time, you play the guitar. You own a guitar. In fact, if you're buying them 100 at a time, good chance you own more than one guitar and you probably own more than two. So his theory is if I can get somebody to buy a guitar pick, I can probably get him to buy a guitar. And based on his sales on eBay, I think that that's probably accurate. Let's look at some other examples. What about a web designer that sells logos? All right? You want to design a website? Why not do a really great deal on a logo? Because once you've designed a new logo for somebody, it's fairly easy to say, gosh, that logo looks great. Do you want to update your website to match your new beautiful professional corporate branding? What about a dentist that sells teeth whitening at cost? I was driving down the road and I saw a billboard, free teeth whitening for a dentist. Now, what I know is that teeth whitening is very cheap to fulfill on, has incredibly high value, but if somebody comes into your dentist office, sits in a chair and gets their teeth whitened, they're not just somebody who likes to have their teeth cleaned. They like to have pretty pearly white teeth, meaning good chance you could sell them some type of veneers, Invisalign, whatever, right? You've got a cosmetic-minded person if you get a teeth whitening person in your chair. What about a roofer that offers gutter cleaning, right? If you're a roofer, you want to get on people's roofs to find out if they need them to be replaced. What better way to get on somebody's roof and get paid to do it than to offer to clean their gutter? Now, maybe you do it for free. Maybe you do it at dead cost, right? But if you want to basically be able to prospect and check out a bunch of roofs, offer gutter cleaning. Again, that's a splintered service. Hosting service that sells website templates. If somebody's buying a website template, good chance they're going to need that hosted somewhere. What about a junk removal service that offers to take away an old TV set for $20? Now, earlier, I told the story about 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And I showed their website and I talked about how they do a really good job of demonstrating before and after. They also do a fantastic job of coming up with entry point offers. Because 1-800-GOT-JUNK doesn't just run ads saying, we're 1-800-GOT-JUNK, we'll come and haul off all your junk. They say, we're 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and if you've got an old funky TV that you want hauled off, we'll do it for $20. Now, obviously for them to send a truck and 2 people to a house to haul off just a TV for $20, they'd go broke. But what they know is that if somebody has an old funky TV that they want hauled off, that's not the only junk that they have. So they're asking themselves, what, if we went and did a big job, what's the one item that is the most common thing that we are hauling off? Old TVs, an old couch, right? If somebody's got an old TV, they got an old couch, they got a bunch of junk. This is what I mean by an entry point offer. You're not making a lot of money, you're not getting rich. You're meeting for coffee, you're buying the first drink, you are delivering value in advance, and you are getting a foot in the door. One more example, offering an a la carte service. What about a carpet cleaner that offers to steam clean your favorite sofa or chair for $20? right? $20, I'll come out and I'll steam clean one sofa or one chair. Now, if somebody wants you to steam clean a sofa or chair, guess what that sofa and chair is probably sitting on? Carpet. And if they care to have their favorite chair cleaned, they'd probably like to have the whole house cleaned too. Most marketers don't think about this. They want to talk about how, we're the best, steamiest carpet cleaner ever this town has ever seen, and they all wind up blah, 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 talking about the same thing. No. Make an entry point offer. Ask them to go for coffee. Date them first. When you offer to clean somebody's sofa or chair for $20, that is a first date. And what you have is a micro commitment of money, $20, and of time. They let you in their home. I love Fiverr. So if you've ever seen Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, Fiverr is a website where it's a lot of people offering to do different technical things for just $5. So somebody will, create a simple video for you for $5. Why would they do that? For $5? Because they want to make a more complicated, a bigger one for even more money. All right, it's that initial entry point offering. I want to show you how we do it at Digital Marketer, because this is the strategy, this splintering concept is how we generate customers at Digital Marketer. So I'll kind of pull back the curtain and show you how we do it. So our main kind of flagship offering at Digital Marketer is Lab. Okay, Lab is our main flagship offering, and if you're a Lab member, you get access to our execution plan library, our certifications, our community. You get discounts and deals. You get bonus, training, webinars. You get the idea. As a member of Lab, you get a whole lot of stuff thrown in, and it's great stuff. It's really, really, really good stuff. The challenge is it's so much stuff that it's hard to describe. And when we first launched Lab years and years ago as kind of, this is the ultimate library, it has everything you could ever want and more, people didn't buy it because they didn't really know what exactly the benefit was. So we decided to splinter. In particular, we said, what's our most popular execution plan? What's our most popular kind of training that we have right now today? And at the time, it was this one right here, how to increase engagement with Facebook promoted posts. At this point in time, promoted posts were brand new. All of it was fairly new. And so we splintered it out and we said, okay, you don't have to join Lab. If you would like to just get this one checklist, this one execution plan, this one kind of micro training, you can have it for just $7. Now, we are not getting rich selling trainings for $7. You need to sell a lot of $7 trainings for that to add up to pay the bills. But it was a micro commitment. And when we got this $7, it was very easy for us to say, hey, you now have access to one of our cherished execution plans. It's great. By the way, did you know that if you were a Lab member, you would have access to not just this one, but all 30 of them? And the good news is you can try Lab free today for 14 days. Go ahead and sign up. And we were able to increase the number of trials dramatically by splintering off a front-end offering first. We're able to dramatically increase the, hey, want to be exclusive and go out for a really, really long time by saying, would you like to grab coffee first? No big surprise. The third way that you can brainstorm new entry point offers is to ask, what's a little victory that you can deliver that will cause your customer to believe you have the ultimate solution to their pain? Now, this one is particularly powerful if you are selling something that it requires your customer to do a lot of the work, or maybe they've tried and failed in the past. If the biggest hurdle that you have to ultimately overcome is self-doubt. So if you're selling anything at all in health, fitness, diet, right? Anything where people would have tried and failed many, many times in the past, a lot of medical type things, back pain, right? They want to be here, but in reality, your customer, they are down at the bottom of the mountain, they're depressed, and they're like, yeah, I believe that all that stuff works. I believe it's worked for other people. I believe the claims. I just don't think it's going to work for me. If the biggest hurdle that you have to overcome is self-doubt, if you're dealing with a jaded market, I've also seen this work for people who are selling SEO services, right? Because a lot of people have been, fooled by SEO, search engine optimization charlatans, right? So if you're in a market where your audience is, jaded, or, they've got a lot of self-doubt, offering a little victory can be a very, very, very powerful, powerful way to overcome that. So let's look at some examples. I saw a back pain clinic out of Dallas, Texas, run an offer where it was really simple. They said, if you suffer from back pain, then give us a call and we will do an over-the-phone assessment. And I had a friend of mine who just happened to suffer from back pain. Now, if you suffer from back pain, or if you know anybody who suffers from back pain, chronic back pain, you know it's debilitating. And you've tried everything. I mean, you've taken pills and you've had needles poked in your back. You may have even tried surgery at some point. Like, you will try everything, anything and everything to get over this back pain, right? What this back pain clinic did is they said, call us for a free over-the-phone assessment. And when my friend called, they said, okay, what I want you to do is just do a simple stretch. And in doing this stretch, we'll be able to determine if our particular type of procedure will help your particular type of back pain. Our procedure doesn't work for all different types of back pain. And so they had my friend kind of cross one leg over another and lean in the opposite direction and hold it for a while. And then they said, okay, go ahead and stand up. And when my friend stood up, I said, how do you feel? And he said, oh my gosh, my back pain is gone. Now, at that moment, the person on the other end line did something very smart. They said, okay, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is if the stretch you just performed did relieve some of that pressure and some of that tension, then our procedure will likely work. We'll need to have a follow-up consult to make sense, but it does make sense to move forward. Now, the bad news is that, unfortunately, your pain will come back. So when the stretch is relieved, you'll have the tension and the pain will return. Now, what was amazing about this is my friend didn't care, because for a moment, they felt what it was like to be pain-free. They had hope. Hope is one of the most powerful forces. So, what can you offer? What can you have them do that will make them feel hopeful? Let's look at another example. I had another friend who was a personal trainer, and the big challenge that he had was, he'd start training with somebody and then they'd wind up, bailing out because they didn't see results very quickly. So he switched it up and he said, okay, the first week that somebody starts training with me, I'm going to make them do a juice fast. All right, so they're only going to drink juice and water for an entire week. And what he did to him what he did with them, he said very pointedly, he said, look, this juice fast, you're just basically going to purge a bunch of water weight. It's not actually going to help your long-term health, but what it's going to do is it's going to make you feel thinner. And people will begin to notice that you look thinner. And you're going to want to maintain that same feeling of thinness. The other thing that's going to happen is, on the other side of those 7 days, I'm not going to ask you to do anything as hard as what I just asked you to do. So we're going to, up front, if you can make it through these 7 days, you have the willpower to go as far as you can. But again, it was hope. People who had never been able to lose weight before, now all of a sudden they're able to do it. Why? Because he made them do this juice fast where they felt thinner, they looked thinner, and they're willing to move forward. Hope. In Austin, where I live, there's a kitchen remodeler that I stumbled across. This kitchen remodeler doesn't sell kitchen remodeling in the same way that a lot of kitchen remodelers do. What they offer is, we're going to let you visualize what your new kitchen could be. So it's a $100 design service. That $100 goes to a designer that designs up what your dream kitchen could be. So you meet with them. Again, commitment of $100 is a commitment of micro commitment of money. Certainly, if you're going to do a full kitchen remodel, those average out to about $50,000, $60,000. So $100 compared to that, fairly small. You go and spend a couple hours with a designer to map things out, but then the designer comes back with a 3D rendering of your ideal kitchen. You can see it. It's a 3D rendering. It looks great. And they simply say, would you like this kitchen to become a reality? This kitchen that you see here, would you like for it to become a reality? Once somebody has seen how beautiful their kitchen could be, their conversion rate went through the roof, much higher than when it was just, we'll give you a quote on what it will cost. Let them see it. I've also seen marketing campaigns and consultants offer to do a turnkey email campaign to generate some leads for an otherwise stagnant business. So before they go out there and they're like, hey, here's a really big retainer, or here's a really big expensive thing, it's, why don't you let me write you a 3-part email series? Let's see if we can get some leads going. Again, emails go out, business owners see some leads come in, see some sales, they feel hopeful, it works, all right? Now, this one, admittedly, is the most difficult to pull off. This is the one that's going to require the most creativity. This is the one where, it may not even apply to your business, but if it does, and if you can, this is the most powerful version of all. My recommendation, if you're just getting started, think about the splinter strategy. What's something that you're already fulfilling down towards the end of the funnel? What's the thing that you ultimately want to offer at that ascend stage that could be split out, that could be broken out, that could be splintered out and put in here? All right? Just make sure micro commitment of time, micro commitment of money. With that said, I want to give you a really quick kind of entry point offer checklist just to make sure, because I know this is a bit of a complicated subject. We want to make sure that we can check all of these boxes, or at least as many as possible. Number one, is it an impulse buy or low barrier to entry? Remember, we're not trying to get rich off of entry point offers. We're not trying to make a lot of profit. It is a first date. It is let's meet for coffee. So it should be impulse buy. It should be low barrier to entry. More times than not, if we're thinking about consumer, it's sub $20. All right, you saw, for us, we're selling execution plans at just $7. In the B2B space, it could be 100, could be 500. It needs to be an amount that is a no-brainer. It needs to be an amount where the dollar amount is irrelevant to the decision. Number two, it should speak to the conversation that your audience is already having. So again, if they have doubts, if they have, if they need a bit of hope, if there's something they're really wondering, something they wish they already had, right? Engage with that conversation. And number two, useful but incomplete. All right, so gutter cleaning is great. It's nice to have a clean gutter, but if you got a hole in your roof, incomplete. All right, so in all of the examples that I showed you before, the item in and of itself is useful by itself. We're not about bait and switch here, all right? But it should be a part of a long-term plan. Just meeting for coffee is the first step in a long-term relationship. But if somebody craves a long-term relationship, they're gonna want more than just coffee. It should also promise a specific benefit. Remember, specificity is critical. Be very, very specific in the benefit. It should deliver a quick win, that little victory, especially if if you're dealing with a lot of self-doubt. Must create a micro commitment. A little bit of money, a little bit of time. And it should have high perceived and high actual value, right? And that's important because it needs to funnel seamlessly into the core offer, all right? It shouldn't be disconnected from the place where you ultimately want them to go. It needs to funnel seamlessly through, and it needs to deliver the aha moment, which we're gonna talk about in just a little bit. So make sure when you're producing your own entry point offer that you run it through this checklist. Also, remember, the job of the convert stage is not to close the sale. It's not to close the deal. The job of the convert stage is to get a first date. And once you have that first date, that is when you have the opportunity to set up that exciting aha moment. That's where we want it to go. We want to get the first date. We want to deliver value in advance. That is how it's going to proceed, how the relationship is going to convert, and how it's ultimately going to ascend. So that's the convert stage. Start brainstorming, thinking out an entry point offer for your journey. And once you have that, it's time to move on.